Greetings! My name is Anthony. I'm one of the many historical interpreters out here at Jamestown Settlement, and I love to tell you stories that they told inside this fort, but we don't know a single story they told inside this fort. However, these folks were English, and I know a lot of stories they told back in England. I think it's time to share one now. I hope you're ready to hear a story. Sometimes I think one of the best places to find stories is artifacts. I want you to meet my friend Leather Jack. Common mug back then made out of leather. As a matter of fact, in the English language, you will find the word Jack all the time. And so the word Jack means every man. My leather Jack is the cup of every man. However, you had, Jack of all trades. Nowadays you have jack hammers and jack rabbits. And let's not forget those 4 jacks that live in a deck of cards, right? They had cards back then. Sure, they did. So I want to tell you a story about that everyman hero, Jack. Lots of stories from the British Isles will be about Jack. This is a Jack tale. Now, a long time ago, Jack woke up one morning and his mama was standing over the bed. She says, "Jack, you need to go out and get a job." Jack was kind of shocked. He had never heard of a job before. It didn't sound like something he wanted, but he said, "Yes, ma'am." He's a good boy. He went out looking for a job. He went from one side of that county to the other. Nobody had a job for him. But finally, on the far side of the county was this farmer. He said, "Yeah, Jack, I could use some help around my farm." And he knew Jack, and he knew Jack's mama. And he says, "Jack, I'll tell you what you do. We'll start work today. You come every day, and I'll pay you every day." Jack went straight to work and worked hard all day. At the end of the day, he came up to the house to get paid. Farmer says, "Jack, look here. I have a coin. It's a gold coin." Jack had never seen a gold coin before, and Jack had something rare. And on his shirt back then, he had a pocket, a little shirt pocket right there. And so he took that gold coin, put it in that pocket, and headed home. Now, between Jack's house and his mama's house was a creek where Jack liked to go catfishing. And Jack says, "I wonder, I might come back here today to do some catfishing. I just want to see if there's any down there." Got on the little bridge, looked over. You know what happened. Out came that coin. It was gone, lost forever. That night, Jack's mama, she says, "Jack, when somebody pays you with money, you take that money and you put it as far down into your pants pocket as you can." Jack said, "Yes, ma'am." Jack went to bed. Jack got up. Jack went to work. Jack worked hard all day. End of the day, the farmer calls Jack up to the house. He says, "Jack, you worked hard all day. Me and the wife just got done some milking. Please take this pail of milk home to your mama." Farmer went in the house. Jack took that pail of milk, and then he grabbed his pocket, pulled it open as far as he could, poured that whole bucket of milk down into his pants. That afternoon, Jack's mama did not see him coming home. She smelled him coming home. She says, "Jack, when somebody pays you with milk, take that milk, put it on your head, and you keep it tight with both hands, walk home as slow as you can." Jack said, "Yes, ma'am." Jack went to bed. Jack got up. Jack went to work. Jack worked hard all day. Now, farmer calls him up the house. He says, "Jack, me and the wife just got finished churning some butter. Please take this big old lump of butter home to your mama." Jack said, "Yes, sir." Farmer went in the house. Jack put that lump of butter on top of his head. He started walking home as slow as he could. You guys already know it was the hottest day of the year, and that butter just started getting smaller and smaller and smaller, all down through his hair and through his face into his shirt. Oh, Jack's mama, she says, "Jack, when somebody pays you with butter, you take that butter out to the well, you drop a bucket, you dump it in that cold water 5 or 6 times, get it nice and hard, and run home with it quick as you can." Jack said, "Yes, ma'am." Jack went to bed. Jack got up. Jack went to work. Jack worked hard all day. At the end of the day, Jack goes up to the house to get paid. Farmer says, "Jack, let me ask you a question. Over at your barn, at your place, how are y'all fit for mice?" Oh, Jack says, we're just run over with mice. We're terrible with mice." Farmer says, "I got 3 really good barn cats out there. Go pick one out, take it to your mama." Jack said, yes, sir. Jack went out to the barn, picked up a nice kitty, started petting it, got it purring. Jack took it out to the well, drew up that pail of cold water. Friends, Jack only dunked that cat one time. That evening, as Jack's mama was bandaging up Jack's arm, she says, Jack, when somebody pays you with a cat, you have a nice, soft, long piece of yarn, you tie it around the kitty's neck, and you gently bring him home. Jack said, yes, ma'am. Jack went to bed. Jack got up. Jack went to work. Jack worked hard all day. Farmer says, Jack, you know what? I've got a smokehouse over there with some hams. I bet you and your mama would like one. Go pick out a nice ham for your mama. Jack said, yes, sir. Jack went to the smokehouse, picked out a nice ham. Jack got that piece of yarn out of his pocket, tied it around one end of that ham, dragged it home all the way across the county. Now, when Jack got home, there was not a scrap of meat left on that ham bone. However, to his credit, he did have about 4 or 5 cats that had followed along. Oh, Jack says to Mom, she says, Jack, when somebody pays you with a ham, you take a sturdy rope. You tie up one end of that ham, you tie up that other end of that ham, you throw it over your shoulders, and you come right home with it. Jack said, yes, ma'am. Jack went to bed. Jack got up. Jack went to work. Jack worked hard all day. Farmer says, Jack, you've worked hard all week. And so now, Jack, I tell you what, how is your plowing going over at your place? Jack says, oh, it's bad. Poor mama's having to do all the plowing by herself. Farmer says, that's all right. I've got 2 good plowing mules out in the pen. Take one home to your mama. Jack said, yes, sir. Jack went over there. He had his piece of rope. He was ready. He climbed the fence. He looked at the smallest one, and Jack took off running as fast as he could, and he slammed in the side of that mule, knocked it over, got that piece of rope, tied up the front legs, tied up the back legs, and then Jack scooped that mule up. Jack was a strong boy. He got up about this high, threw it over his shoulders, and 2 steps and down. Jack was on the floor. Picked it up again, another 2 steps, wham! Jack was on the ground. This was going to be a long trip across the county, but Jack was determined. Now, between the farmer's house and Jack's house lived the house of the richest man in the county. And you think being rich, you never have problems. He had a problem. He had a daughter, about 16, 17 years old. This daughter had never spoken a word. As he took her to all kinds of doctors and specialists, nobody could make this girl talk. Then finally, one day, this doctor says, let me ask you this, sir, has this girl ever laughed? Man thought for a second. He says, no, I don't believe she has. He says, well, there you go. Every baby learns to laugh before she learns to talk. You get this girl laughing, and she'll start talking, probably never shut up. Man says, I'll do it. He hired all kinds of clowns and comedians, actors, historical interpreters. Nobody could make this girl laugh. And one day he's sitting out on his porch, and he's so frustrated, just mad at life. And he's sitting out with his daughter, and he just yells out to the air, half of my farm, half of everything I own, for the man who can make my daughter laugh. And in that moment, Jack walked around the corner carrying a mule on his shoulders. And friends, I'm happy to tell you, Jack never had to work another day in his life. Thank you so much for visiting. Again, one of the ways I like finding stories is looking through artifacts. Artifacts quite often tell stories. There's 2 artifacts I want you to meet today. The first, his name is Dutch oven. Actually, back in this time period, it's called kettle oven. It's so easy to cook with. Hot coals on top, hot coals underneath. You see why there's legs there, right? And it works really, really well. And pipkin. Pipkin, you can also see legs. You can put hot coals under there, cook up a nice soup or stew. They're both good ways to cook, but you see, they're made from entirely different things. Time for that Aesop fable. One day, a man is sitting in his house, very much like the house I'm in today. He looked out the door, he said to his wife, "It looks like rain." And this woman never believed the word that her husband said. She looked out the window and she says, "Well, it does look like rain." And finally, one little boy, he said, "Mom and Dad never know what they're talking about. That's what kids do." He looked out the door. He says, it's gonna rain and it's gonna rain now. And friends, it hit. It was a true gully washer, a frog strangler. And the whole family looked out the door. This giant wall of water was coming straight for their house. Father, he left that door open, ran to the back, opened the back door, but here come that wall of water. It picked up Dutch oven. It picked up Pipkin. And now they're just going along through the water. The water's so strong, picked both of these things up. And Pipkin, he's screaming, help me, help me, help me. And then poor old Dutch oven, he was brave. And Dutch oven says, I will save you, just come close to me. And Pipkin says, no, one touch from you, I will be destroyed forever. So friends, being a fable, it always ends with a moral. And the moral of that story is pretty simple. The best of friends are equals. Friends, thank you so much for joining us for this story. If you liked it, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and we always love when you leave a comment. All right, friends, cheers.